They don't really want us to be in the
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but I'm found. Now I'm blind. Who was blind, but now I see.
On a day when we honor the dead, let us also honor precious, precious life. This wondrous gift each of us has been blessed with, and a gift which, simply by being born, none of us really did anything to deserve. So let us vow to be worthy of this great gift by living lives of joy and thankfulness, spending some of our precious, limited time in service to others, and in gratitude to all who came before us, making possible the lives we lead. Come, let us worship together. Now, Fred Stevens, our worship associate this morning, will lead us in the chalice lighting. And if you are so moved from home, please join us in voice or spirit, but muted, of course. Fred? Okay, Fred, you'll have to unmute yourself so we can hear the chalice lighting, please. Fred told us he had some connectivity problems this morning. He actually looks frozen. Well, let's see if I can do it without notes. Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek. Its brightness dispelling gloom, lighting a path to faith and hope. Its glow reminding us of the sacred bonds which link us to all living things. Its radiance.
Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek.
Casting the light of freedom, justice, and peace upon all the world. Good morning, whoever you are, wherever you may happen to be on your spiritual journey. Please know that for this time, you are part of this one gathered congregation, and you are welcome here. I'm Michael Gardner, a worship associate in the church. Our minister, Catherine Cullen, has the day off, one of the few that she's taken since the pandemic began all those months ago. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be with you this morning. We're also being joined by Fred Stevens, I hope, one of our most distinguished military veterans in our congregation. He's a graduate of West Point, a career Army officer with service in Korea and Vietnam. Fred retired from service as a lieutenant colonel, and his leadership skills have served us well. Fred was the chair of the Ministerial Search Committee that resulted in Catherine's being called as our settled minister. I had the honor of serving on that committee with Fred, and I can testify that his gentle leadership served us well, time and time again. Thank you for all of that service, Fred. The flowers this morning are from the garden of Mary Lynn Carson. Thank you so much, Mary Lynn, for sharing their beauty with us today. A couple of reminders. We are still in our stewardship campaign, and the stewardship committee would love to hear from you if you haven't pledged yet. And don't forget that next week is our spring annual meeting starting at 9:30 and not likely to last more than an hour. We need you, not only for a quorum, but for the joy and satisfaction of your joining us in the democratic life of the church. Traditionally, at this spring meeting, Catherine reads the names of all those affiliated with the church who have died in the last year. This year, we will use our abbreviated worship service starting at 9 a.m., which precedes the annual meeting, to remember these fine folks. Please join us for that service starting at 9. And please stay after today's service to join one of our breakout rooms, which features, as always, bring your own coffee. Tomorrow, Memorial Day, marks for us a time of solemn remembrance. And I'd like to call up 3 events from our past worthy of our noting today. This past Tuesday marked the 1 year since the death by state action of George Floyd. Much has changed since then, and much hasn't. Tomorrow marks the 100th anniversary of the beginning of one of the worst white on black mob violences in our history, with well over 300 dead. This was the Tulsa race riot of 1921, which Catherine spoke about at length last week. This was, until recently, a largely hidden, forgotten red smear on our nation's history. Alas, with all the guns around, it is not inconceivable that such an event could happen again. But it does seem inconceivable that it could be hidden or ignored for nearly 100 years. That's progress, I guess. Finally, on May 30th, 1822, 199 years ago, Denmark Vesey, a free black man in South Carolina, was accused of planning a large slave rebellion and later hanged with over 30 alleged co-conspirators. Slaveholders dominated every aspect of Southern life, but they also lived in constant fear that the oppressed might someday rise up and threaten them. Let's take a moment to remember these and other victims of racial violence and cruelty. Now, let's give everyone a chance to say hello. Dustin, let's go to gallery view, and everyone, please unmute yourselves and greet your neighbors. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
This is Peter's last day. Peter, keep it up. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Brian,
Hey.
Jack.
How beautiful.
Hi, Claudia. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, my love.
Hi, Shirley. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, darlings.
Hi, Shirley. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Shirley.
Hi, Claudette. Nice to see you.
Claudette.
Morning, Claudette.
Brad.
Nice. Very nice to be able to be. Oh, hi there.
Got an unstable network, and
Hi, Alexandra.
Low bandwidth.
So we have many traditions here at First Parish, some of which have been altered or postponed during these last crazy months. One of the loveliest traditions has been, for many years, to be joined at our Memorial Day weekend service by the Williams Reunion Jazz Band, featuring our own Fred Clifford, with some rousing, foot-stomping Dixieland, homegrown jazz. They couldn't be with us last year, and this year, last I heard, Fred and Barbara were with friends in Key West. But with their help, and assisted by their son Fred, Kate Sullivan, and a major technical and artistic contribution by Ted Lillies, we are able to share their sound with you today. They say it takes a village, but when it comes to technology and me, I think it takes a town. With a nod to the day, the Williams Band will play their version of Battle Hymn of the Republic. I confess the lyrics to this song and its history have always been a bit too bellicose for me. But in this version, I think you'll hear a plaintive quality in the singing that softens the message, bringing it closer to the spirit we would like to share today. And given the song's history, let's acknowledge the awesome power of music to stir hearts and emotions, and remember our duty to steer those emotions toward a good end. Meanwhile, enjoy the Williams Reunion Jazz Band, featuring one of Liz Polvinen's great friends, Jimmy Mazzy on vocals, and Fred Clifford on tuba. In a band without a drum, I'm told it's the tuba that keeps the time. Enjoy.
My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is traveling out of the village where the graves of death are stored. He throws the vapor light of his terrible with sword. His truth is marching on.
you start speaking. When is it?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, yes,
I want,
we can.
I want
right
to talk
ahead.
about Memorial Day. Tomorrow, it's the day to remember those who died while in the service to our country. Why do we keep it up year after year? Oliver Wendell Holmes, who served as a first volunteer regiment, said, quote, "The answer should command the assent of those who do not share our memories, and in which we of the North and our brethren of the South could join in perfect accord." He was speaking in 1884. And he also said, "The soldiers of the war need no explanations. They can join in commemorating a soldier's death with the feelings not different in kind, whether he fell forward toward them or by their side." So those who ask why Memorial Day is still kept up, we may answer. It celebrates and solemnly reaffirms from year to year a national act. It wasn't until 1868 that Memorial Day was officially created. That was done by General John A. Logan, commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, in his General Orders number 11, dated May 5th, 1868. I quote now from that order. And this is now is speaking back 150 years ago. Headquarters of the Grand Army of the Republic, General Orders number 11, Washington, D.C., May 5th, 1868. He says, "The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will, in their own way, arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose among
Thank you, Fred. Apparently, the connection at the village is worse today than it's been in the past. Filling in while Robbie was on sabbatical, I offered a version of the coming prayer in the sanctuary as the benediction to the town's Memorial Day service in 2001. That was, of course, before 9/11, before our 20-year war in Afghanistan, before our 2003 invasion of Iraq, and before mass shootings became a daily occurrence. And so we make this same plea today with all the urgency of an unknown future. Please join in the spirit of prayer. May the creative spirit which inspires all life guide us as we remember and honor those who have trod this path before us. Those who have sacrificed through service, through pain and loss of life, who sacrificed in the name of freedom and justice and their best understanding of the common good. May the creative spirit inspire us towards forgiveness of those we once called enemy and those we may yet name again. As we strive to understand and experience the common humanity binding men and women of all nations, all regions, may we rededicate ourselves to peace, to justice, so that the dead from America's wars never grow again in numbers, but grow only in our hearts with increased appreciation, gratitude, and love. And in the name of all that is holy, may they never be forgotten. Amen. When Peter first suggested this next piece for our service, I found it very fitting. Not only is it a beautiful song, but it is set in a state that was created out of the divisiveness of war, one of the themes of this morning's service. Severed from its original home as part of Virginia in 1863, it remains a legacy of a horrible war, even as this song celebrates its beauty. And just a moment to thank Peter for all of the time over these many months when his music has inspired us and enhanced our services. Thank you, Peter.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is older than, younger than the tree, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. All my memories gather round her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water. To the place that I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road. I hear a voice in the morning as she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. And I'm driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Take me home, country road.
The values of a country, the beliefs of its peoples, can be discerned in part from the holidays they celebrate, even as the modes of celebration, the very reasons for celebrating, molt and evolve over time. Christmas is a holiday that has probably undergone the greatest transformation since the Spartan Puritan days to today's commercial extravaganza. Yet it certainly still speaks to our origins as a Western Christian nation. The majority of our other national and state holidays are also linked to our origin stories about our nation's birth, rebirth. Thus, we have Columbus Day, currently under siege as values and perspectives evolve. Patriots Day, July 4th, President's Day, Thanksgiving Day, proclaimed by President Lincoln in 1863, in part to boost morale and solidarity on the home front. Veterans Day, and of course, Memorial Day. Labor Day and Martin Luther King's birthday seem designed to recognize specific segments of our population, and in the case of Dr. King's birthday, to acknowledge America's greatest social sin and the epic struggle ongoing to somehow make it right. Each holiday has its own backstory, like the resistance in the South and the West to embrace Dr. King's birthday, and the successful revolt by the VFW and others to stop the renamed Armistice Day from being observed on the closest Monday, which was seen as slighting the sacredness of November 11th itself. But of all the holidays, Memorial Day seems to me to be the one whose history reinforces the geographic and cultural division that has plagued us from the Constitutional Convention in 1787 to the present day. Our origin story, writ large, in unflattering terms. The holiday we celebrate tomorrow, as Fred described, was born out of the Civil War, America's most deadly, with over 660,000 deaths in a nation 1/10 the size of the population we have today. A death toll equivalent to nearly 7 million now, mostly men in the prime of life. A death toll equal to 23 separate COVID pandemics. This wound to our nation's soul was so wide, so deep, so festering, we have never fully recovered. And we continue to feel that pain every day. The worship theme for this month is stories, some of which Catherine and Carol Robison shared last week. Today, I'd like to reimagine the frame, the lens, the reference point through which we understand so many of the stories of the last 160 years. I would submit to you that one of the most useful ways to understand American history, to understand the stories we tell ourselves, to understand our current political divisiveness, our culture wars, our struggle to make Black Lives Matter, our border wars, our unwillingness to lift millions of Americans out of poverty, our paralysis over climate change, our inability to reduce the absurd number of guns and automatic weapons in circulation, our ongoing struggles with white supremacy and white privilege. To understand all this, I propose the following framework. Consider these conflicts in the following context. The Civil War never really ended. It just goes on by other means. Think of any social, political, economic problem in the country today, and I believe that not the only, but among the fundamental reasons we can't solve that problem is because the country has never reconciled the conflicts that resulted in all that bloodshed shed all those years ago. I find looking through this lens very helpful to me in understanding our country's past and present, I also find it desperately, desperately sad. That's because it feels like a zero-sum game. In this sub-rosa war, a win for one side will be understood as a loss for the other. The current debates about changing voting laws going on in state houses and Congress, a prime example. And then, if this really is the long-tail aftermath of the Civil War, it means the problems are inextricably linked to the intractable issues of race and true race equality, a challenge we have not been successful in meeting in the last 500 years. So what are the origins of this quintessential compromised holiday? Remember when the holiday was known as Decoration Day? It was always observed on May 30th, and the entire focus was on visits to cemeteries, where there was a small flag placed at the headstone of all the veterans and flowers on the graves of our loved ones. There was no national holiday. Each state had its own, some on different dates. In 1971, Congress, for the first time, made the last Monday in May Memorial Day, made it a national holiday. This gave us another 3-day weekend and the unofficial opening of summer, which tilted the focus away from cemeteries towards beaches and the outdoor grill. I like the change to Memorial Day. Rather than just flowers and flags, the day should be about remembering, honoring, and memorializing those who sacrificed, not only the soldiers, but all those beloveds we held dear. Denoting it as Memorial Day broadens the scope and deepens the meaning of this somber holiday. On May 1st, 1865, 10,000 recently freed slaves and a few whites marched in Charleston, South Carolina, honoring about 260 Union soldiers who had been unceremoniously buried in a mass grave after dying at a prison camp for captured Union soldiers. Before the march, freed slaves moved the bodies to individual graves on site. Black children carried flowers, and Black preachers spoke over the graves. This was the first known mass event honoring Civil War dead. Imagine the emotions those newly freed human beings had as they marched. They must have felt pride, hope, fear for the future, anger, grief, humility, jubilation, and much more. It took courage to do what they did. What a day that must have been. Southern white women decorated the graves of Confederate dead during and after the war. In 1866, women in Columbus, Georgia, urged that an annual holiday be established on April 26th, the day the last Confederate Army surrendered. This holiday to decorate the graves of Confederate soldiers throughout the South. That same year, women in Columbus, Mississippi, decorated the graves of both Confederate and Union soldiers, the first noted effort of its kind. Fred has already spoken to you about the General Logan from the Grand Army of the Republic, who issued the proclamation of a Decoration Day on May 30th. Some say this date was picked because no significant battles were fought on that date, making the appeal more universal. Others said it was picked because it was an optimal time for flowers to be in bloom in the North. Many northern states quickly adopted the practice, and by 1890, Decoration Day was an official holiday in every northern state. Many in the South were displeased that Northerners were copying a tradition started by them. Southern states renamed their holiday Confederate Memorial Day. celebrated on dates from late April to June, but never May 30th. By 1890, the emphasis of Southern observance had shifted from honoring specific soldiers to what one study called the public commemoration of the Confederate South. The holiday was used as a means for raising money to build Confederate war monuments, to shape the contents of history textbooks, to preserve Confederate culture, and to promote the narrative of the lost cause of the Confederacy. This latter has been described as a claim that the cause of the Confederacy was heroic, just, and not centered on slavery. This is a narrative that has supported Jim Crow, the subjugation of blacks, and voter suppression in its many forms in all the decades since. The North also used its Decoration Day to promote political causes, one of them being increased pensions for Union soldiers and widows. Confederate Memorial Day lives on. It is still an observed holiday in Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina, and Texas, where it is known as Confederate Heroes Day. All these days are separate from and unrelated to the national observance. Separation lives on. The continuation of the Civil War by other means is not just a Southern phenomenon. The North played its part in the continuing struggle. Arlington National Cemetery was built on part of Robert E. Lee's estate, an intentional insult. Some number of Confederate dead who had died nearby were interned at Arlington, with, of course, many more Union dead. The Southerners had their own small section of the cemetery. But from the end of the war until the 1880s, the cemetery administrator, a retired Union general, refused to allow Southern families or others to decorate the graves of the Confederate dead upon threat of arrest should they enter that hallowed ground. Attitudes changed. By early in the 20th century, the Confederate dead at Arlington were honored not only with decorations, but with a large monument of their own, all after much lobbying by supporters of the lost cause. About those monuments. The recent effort to remove statues or monuments honoring Confederate generals, soldiers, or the cause, and to rename military facilities and bases named after Confederate generals on the ground that those generals were traitors. All this can be seen as a Northern counterattack to what is now perceived the hostile act of erecting the monuments and claiming the naming rights by the South in the first place. I understand that these monuments and other acknowledgments to Confederate heroes are deeply offensive to many people. Blacks in particular may justifiably feel that these symbols are an affront to their very humanity. And yet, from my perspective, we have fought many unjust, odious wars for all the wrong reasons. Some where millions died. To me, Vietnam and the 2003 invasion of Iraq are recent examples, while the Mexican and Spanish-American wars are no less reprehensible for being distant memories of wars which besmirched our national honor. I'm all for condemning the leaders who drove these decisions, but feel the troops who fought or were maimed or died must be honored for their sacrifice, whether the cause is ignoble or not. I think we need to feel the same way about the common Southern soldier, despite the odiousness of the cause for which he fought. Shall we tear down the Confederate monument at Arlington? That sounds to me like ripping the scab off the wound. Alas, these problems seem intractable. No matter what we do, the pain will be intense, and the path towards justice and common decency murky. So how do we make Memorial Day, I almost said our Memorial Day, a true day of national healing and less a reminder of what keeps us apart, just another skirmish point in our longest lasting war? I have few useful ideas, but here are some thoughts. Though it has been very slow, tincture of time can help heal wounds. Virginia, for 120 years, celebrated Lee Jackson Day, honoring two successful Confederate generals and sons of Virginia. Last year, the holiday was abolished and replaced with a new state holiday, Election Day. In advocating for the change, the governor said the old holiday, quote, commemorated a lost cause and it was time to move on, end quote. Here, time mattered, but so did demographics, as a changing population has helped turn Virginia from deep red to purple, and maybe, thanks to the Washington, D.C. suburbs, even barely blue. And the state avoided the zero-sum problem by making Election Day a holiday. That meant even diehard rebels got something for the loss or diminution of their holiday. Demographic change is likely to be much slower elsewhere, however, as in Mississippi, where only 10% of whites voted for Barack Obama in 2012. Oh my. I find that one of the most discouraging statistics of the 21st century. What's to be done? Those of us who find ourselves on the more northerly side of this low-grade conflict need to find ways to extend a sympathetic hand to those on the other side in ways that don't compromise our core values. Consider concrete measures like robust infrastructure reform may accomplish more than victories over symbolic monuments. There must be other ideas. This is a conversation we need to have among ourselves and also with our neighbors to the south and west. A few years ago, perhaps out of concern that the original purpose of Memorial Day was slipping further and further away, greased by suntan oil and hamburger drippings, Congress passed the National Moment of Remembrance Act, declaring 3 p.m. on Memorial Day as a time for all Americans to stop what they are doing and observe a few moments of quiet contemplation. That sounds like a good spiritual practice. I urge all of us to commit to that observance tomorrow. Smartphone alarms might help. In moments such as tomorrow at 3, and always, we need to honor all the dead from all the wars, even Jackson and Lee, whether we agree with their war aims or not. Remember the example of the ladies from Columbus, Mississippi, who in 1866 decorated all the graves, Confederate and Union alike, notwithstanding that some of those Yankees may have killed their own husbands and sons. How noble. We need to do this. Our common humanity requires nothing less. So when 3 o'clock rolls around tomorrow afternoon, let us all pause to remember and honor the sacrifice of so many, and to resolve to work together with the help of our better angels to truly bind up the nation's wounds. Perhaps in this gesture, some of the sadness may lift. May it be so. Amen. Annie Dillard once wrote, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives." May we spend our lives today, tomorrow, and all of our tomorrows with joy, with gratitude, and with the resolution to work to help heal the wounds that continue to hurt us so. May you be blessed. Now, go be a blessing to the world. Thank you.